All right. Well, we would like to welcome you to our next learning block where we have our new featured speaker, Debbie Rupp. And we're so excited to be able to hear from Debbie today. She's got a really amazing message about personal wellness and nutrition that we think you're going to really find timely. Debbie is a certified nutrition coach and wellness expert who has helped thousands of people transform their relationship with food and make healthier lifestyle choices to create the life that they desire. Using her knowledge of nutritional practices combined with innovative coaching techniques, Debbie shows you how to get results in a way that is practical and easy to understand. She's a results-oriented professional who's inspired by the changes that she sees her clients make. And that sounds like something I think a lot of us in education would say as well. Having coached countless men and women in changing the way they view nutrition, Debbie has learned from both theory and practice what works, and all the experience that she has led her to the development of a one-of-a-kind program called The Basics. Through her program and coaching, Debbie guides you to overcome overwhelm when it comes to sustainable fat loss and making the right food choices by making changes to and staying on track with, as well as being consistent with, the fundamentals of what she calls the basics, so that you can achieve your goals in health and happiness. So please join me in welcoming to the Teacher Wellness Summit, Debbie Rupp.
Hey, everybody. Hi, I am going to pull this up and get you started here.
And as Debbie is doing that, we just want to remind you again that you can use the chat window to share some reactions, some questions, some thoughts as they come up, and then we'll have time for live Q&A at the end. But Debbie, we're going to turn it over to you. We can see your slides, so it's all yours.
Good. Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about the fundamentals for wellness that I call the basics. Thank you for the introduction, Gary. I am a nutrition coach and a wellness expert, and I got here basically and developed this program based on my personal path and that of my clients. I've struggled with gut issues and ear infections, sinus issues, inflammation. When I was in my mid-30s, got diagnosed with some pretty serious autoimmune issues and was finding that standard medical treatment wasn't getting me where I wanted. It was just managing symptoms versus making me feel better. So I spent a lot of time taking a lot of the information that I had from nutrition, putting that together and realizing this wasn't just about food, but it was very lifestyle based. And at the time, I had 2 kids, I was working, I was very busy, and I really needed to figure out a way to put everything into practice in a very simplistic, effective way. So I set out to create this program. Simultaneously, I had the fortunate experience of working with thousands of different people and had the opportunity to work with them one-on-one and really hear what they had to say, where the struggles were. And often I would hear them say, I know what to do. Why am I not doing it? And the reason was, it wasn't always just about the food. I would say to them, just go back to the basics. And the basics are your nutrition, your exercise, your hydration, how much you're sleeping, your routines, and your mindset. Is it helping you or hurting you? Now, the interesting thing with all of these is they influence and intersect each other. They are very well connected. So when your nutrition is on, we're going to have more energy to exercise. Our routines are better. Our mindset is healthier. Our sleep is better. Our sleep, when we have that in alignment, it's also influencing our mindset, our exercise, our hydration, and our nutrition. And although all of these pieces individually seem overwhelming to tackle, it was my goal to put them all in a way that we could move them all forward so that people could feel their best, because that's ultimately what we want. Whether we're looking to sleep better or lose some weight or get some routines down, we want to feel our best. So what does this mean? I think over the years, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but ultimately these 5 things pretty much resonate with everyone. We want more energy, not just for work and optimization for the day, but in all areas of our life, because work is over, especially for you guys, 3, 4 o'clock. And then oftentimes we have families. And I was listening to what Tiffany had to say. I hear you, girl. I've worked with so many people that run into the same problem, that you're so time pressed for things that it gets overwhelming. We want to have better sleep, feel more well rested, better digestion and less bloatedness, so we feel better physically, less brain fog, stress, anxiety, so we have more patience. And when all of these things align, we're feeling more confident to go out in the world and live our best life. So some of the difficulties, I've worked with dozens and dozens of teachers over the years, and some of the difficulties with getting healthy and staying healthy for teachers, I bulleted out these 6 things. Please make a note. So with the questions afterwards, if you guys, can think of some other things, we can chat about them. One big thing is time. Busy schedules, no time to prep food, no time to cook, everything's on the fly. There isn't enough time or energy for exercise. People are tired. Then there's the overwhelm, too many conflicting ideas in the nutrition space on what to eat, so many things to consider with getting healthy. It can feel like an overwhelming project. Restriction. A lot of people are finding in this day and age, especially with nutrition programs, there's so many different food plans and schedules and must-dos and all nutrition groups to completely eliminate. So there's this restrictiveness that makes people feel like if they go and do it, it's going to cause even more stress than they already have. And that's not helpful. Not knowing what to eat for convenience, because a lot of times we're in a time press situation, and a lot of these quote unquote healthy foods that are packaged out there, nutrition bars and so on, are basically like glorified candy bars. So it gets super confusing and overwhelming, not knowing what choices to make. And sometimes we unknowingly make bad choices. We're exhausted. We need more energy. And that sometimes is somebody will fuel themselves throughout the day with caffeine and sugar, just trying to move throughout the day. And the downfall with that not only is imbalanced blood sugar, and it's not great for your health, but we crash at that 3 or 4 o'clock hour. And sometimes we're hungry, but our mood crashes too. And we don't know why. We might not know, like, gosh, why am I so edgy? Not eating, but not fasting. This one is pretty common, especially with women. Not eating a lot throughout the course of the day, maybe drinking Diet Coke or coffee or whatever, but then, and maybe a little nibble of something throughout the course of the day, but then they get to 3 or 4 o'clock and are starving and maybe wanting salty, crunchy foods or sugar. And ultimately, a lot of times I find with clients in this situation, they're not actually eating that much, but they're struggling with weight management issues, and it gets really confusing. So I'm going to start out with nutrition. And I love this quote, especially pertaining to educators. It's the oxygen mask theory. You cannot help other people do great things if you're not taking care of yourself. And the goal with your roles is to help people and take care of them. And oftentimes we forget ourselves in the mix of this. We come last. And that is not always the best thing. So I'm going to give you a couple basics about nutrition, maybe dispel a couple myths here. Calories. Yes, they do matter. We hear a lot like, don't pay attention to calories, don't worry about them, don't track them. And there is some truth to that to a degree, but we need to understand what they are in terms of quality. The quality of the food you eat matters. So this apple, though it has some natural sugars in it, it's got fiber and vitamins, is not going to be the same as the calories in a donut, which is basically mainlining sugar into your body. Then we have the quantity of calories. The amount of food we take in, the amount of calories we take in, is going to dictate whether we lose weight, maintain weight, or gain weight. And the quality of those foods is going to allow us to eat more food and take in more volume of enjoyable, excellent foods without feeling depleted. Macronutrients. A lot of people have heard the term macros. It can get a little confusing. There's a lot of numbers involved. I'm going to break this down real simple because they are important to recognize. Carbohydrates, also known as carbs, are going to be your pastas, breads, fruits, starchy vegetables like potatoes and corn, beans, legumes, things like that. Vegetables are considered a carbohydrate. However, we don't really put them in that category because vegetables should always be a free food. Eat as many as you can because of the nutrient density. Then we have protein. That's going to encompass things like fish and seafood, poultry, chicken, animal protein products, tofu, tempeh, eggs, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. Those are all good, healthy sources of protein. Then we have our healthy fats, which are oils like olive oil, avocados, avocado oil, coconuts, nuts and seeds, grass-fed butters. Now, why does this matter? It matters because combining these foods properly helps ensure blood sugar stability. If we're just eating all carbs, lots and lots of carbs, which a lot of people do because they taste good and they're a bit addictive. But if we're not eating protein or healthy fats with those, our blood sugar is going up and then it's dropping. And when we put those together with the proteins and healthy fats, it blunts those blood sugar spikes. So it ensures our energy is stable. We can have an easier time with weight management. And it really overall, for our overall health, is incredible for disease prevention. So just a simple tip: when you're putting your plate together, make sure you've got about a fistful of carbohydrates, healthy carbs, have as much protein as you'd like, and then have like a couple thumbfuls of some fats. That's a really good way to start without really having to get too into it. The quality of foods. I've had a lot of people talk about overwhelm with needing to go all organic or eating certain foods. And here's my philosophy on this. Often, good is best. Not everybody has the ability to have access or afford all organic or grass-fed foods. And if you can just focus on eating whole foods, clean foods most of the time, things that traditionally don't come in a box, bag, can, or fast foods, that, you know, with the exception of things like canned beans or a box of rice or something like that. But if you can eat cleaner, healthier foods, good is often the best because you can be consistent with that. And then once you're consistent and you have it going and it works into your schedule and your lifestyle, then it's fun to level up and try some different things that might kind of ante up the quality of the foods. Okay, so how do we put this all together? You have no time, so keep it simple. Pick 2 things for breakfast that will work for you. A lot of people skip breakfast because they don't have time, or they eat something really carb heavy or sugar because it's just like easy and on the go. If you can do something like a smoothie, a lot of my teachers do smoothies because it's a really easy way to pack in a lot of nutrition and run out the door with it, and even have it sitting on your desk to finish when class gets started. For lunch, oftentimes, again, with you guys having the busy day that you have, something like a wrap is a really great lunch to have. Some cut up grilled chicken, avocado, whatever else you like in there, and wrap it, because you can eat it at your desk if you're moving around, if you've got kids you're working with on your lunch hour, and it's not as intrusive as something that may need to be heated and microwaved and a lot of different components. Those things are also good, but not everybody has the ability to do that at lunchtime, because I know your lunch times sometimes are very limited. As for dinners, the quick dinners, there's a lot of really great recipes on a website called Skinny Taste, even just for visual inspiration. And Sunbasket and other order ahead food services can be really easy for meal planning, because it gives you the opportunity to try some different things and have it pre-prepped for you. So all you have to do is cook it. Overwhelm. Again, keep it simple. That is truly my motto with everything. Start eating foods you already enjoy, but create a healthier version. So an example of something would be taco night, especially with kids, right? You've got taco shells and nacho chips and all this stuff. Upgrade your version to a taco salad. Have a bunch of protein, a bunch of vegetables, and start by taking the things you already like and just creating a little bit of a healthier version. As far as restriction goes, my philosophy: you don't need to restrict anything if you're eating healthy foods and you're combining them properly. Now, the only thing with this is, if you do have a situation where you personally don't feel well when you eat something, I always say avoid it. If it doesn't feel good, don't eat it. So what to eat? Again, simple foods. If this is a person that needs convenience, go start slow and go with things that are easy, like a smoothie or like a wrap or like a quick salad. Eat simple is the best. If you're living on protein bars, if you can slowly start integrating real food in, that is a better option. And if you are grabbing protein bars and protein shakes, they do have a place. I urge you to look at the labels and pick something that has a higher protein and a lower carb, because that's going to have lower sugar and a lower to moderate fat. Because the goal with a protein bar is to kind of like give you an infusion of energy, not a sugar crash not a sugar rush that's going to crash you later. If For the people that are exhausted all the time and caffeinated, keep yourself fed regularly. I cannot urge you enough to try this one because it's so important. You won't need the caffeine, and the caffeine is actually prolonging a crash. So if you can really try and start by keeping food in your system, that's going to get you a long way. Which brings me to the not eating but not fasting idea. Is this is life-changing for these people, because if you remember, this is usually my demographic that actually doesn't feel like they're consuming a lot of food, but yet are having weight management issues. And these people find when they're eating more regularly, they're eating more and they don't have issues with their weight management anymore. Okay, routines. A healthy body is not a choice, it's a series of routines. So one thing I like to do with clients and when we do our program is I ask everybody to kind of audit their routines. It's the 20-80 rule. What are we doing 20% of the time? It's derailing 80% of our efforts. And one thing that stands out often with nutrition is how often do we make bad choices because we're in a hurry or not prepared. So, we set out for the week, we're going to do really well this week. And then all of a sudden the wheels fall off the bus because one of the kids has an appointment or a hockey tournament goes late, or we're coaching a sport after school and everything, it's just, there's no time for prep or picking up or planning. So what I say is meal prep doesn't necessarily have to mean you're in the kitchen all day on Sunday. It can be as simple as having a list of things you can go to last minute that are going to work for you. I'm not a person that sits in the kitchen all day Sunday. I don't have time. But what I do is make sure I have a couple cooked chicken breasts. Even if I can't make them, I go and get them. So when we are on the fly, I've got something I can grab. People that like to make, a full salad bar that's accessible in their fridge, great. I don't have the time for that, but what I can do when I'm grocery shopping is grab some chopped up vegetables, a couple bags of lettuce, and a couple pieces of grilled chicken, so that if things don't go the way I planned, which happens probably half of the time, then I've at least covered myself for some healthy foods. As far as carryouts go, a lot of times we stop on the way home from kids' baseball or something, grab a pizza. Try not to eat those types of foods as convenience foods. Have something set at home that you can grab on the fly like that. I love pizza. I think everybody should eat it, but it's more of an indulgence and something to enjoy versus something to eat because there's no other option. So if we can start kind of plugging the holes in there, it's really helpful. Water, huge thing we need. How to audit it? Maybe we have the opportunity sometimes, but we choose soda, coffee, juice. Maybe start your day with a glass of water. If you take a glass up at night and you have it first thing in the morning, it's there and you're good to go. All right, sleep. Are we getting enough sleep? Or are we distracted by a phone or TV in an attempt to relax at bedtime? This is called bedtime procrastination. I don't know if anybody's brought this up yet, but a lot of times with teachers, days are so busy that we are just, by the time everything's done, you're just needing that hour or two to just unwind. And often it pushes our bedtime up and we're not getting the adequate amount of sleep. So if you can adjust and aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and all you have to do is start going to bed 10 minutes earlier or turn your screen off 10 minutes earlier, because 10 minutes, even though it seems like no big deal, over the course of a month is going to get you into a better routine that's giving you more hours of sleep. Okay, exercise. Exercise takes a lot of time only in our explanations of why we're not doing it. Exercise is critical for health. It's one of the main things that's going to help with our metabolism along with nutrition and sleep. It stabilizes blood sugar. It improves cognitive function. It's your metabolic currency. It improves your sleep, reduces risks of heart disease and other health conditions, improves hormone balance, and it improves your mobility to lessen the risks of strains, falls, and tears over time. So how do we do it? This is a big thing, the timing thing. I get it. People don't have time. If you can find something you like to do, or you can fit in for even 10, 15 minutes, that is the best things. I have teachers I know that go for just a walk at lunchtime. If somebody wants to work out in the morning, even just starting for 10 or 15 minutes, put your workout clothes right next to your bed. If you decide to do it after work, take them with you, because stopping home that one distraction at home is going to keep you from going to the gym or doing what you need to do. Finding an accountability buddy is amazing, or choose a gym that allows pre-scheduling with cancellation penalty. I know this works really well for a lot of people for an accountability piece. Okay, my motto is just start. I say that to everybody. I don't care if it's 5 minutes, 3 minutes, looking at your clothes and putting them on and walking outside and walking back in, just start. Ways to do this: find a class near you. Everybody gives away free classes. Try something you like. Online workouts that are great. My personal favorite is Peloton because they have everything. They have series, and you can literally start with a 5-minute class. They have every time frame available. A lot of people like to get a trainer for the accountability. I love getting a friend to show up with walking, accountability, and connection. Walking, I will say this, you guys, people underestimate how important walking is. It not only gets your body moving, but forward emulation, when we're moving forward, it actually it helps our amygdala turn down. So it actually helps lessen anxiety. And people find walking first thing in the morning, getting sunlight in their eyes, is incredible for managing anxiety and overwhelm. And last, try and do it even when you don't feel like it, because a lot of times we won't feel like it, but if you can just get that 10-minute walk in, you'll feel so good. Sleep. My favorite, actually, my most important basic. Sleep is a golden chain that ties health and our bodies together. I don't think a lot of people realize how critical sleep is. It literally is important for every function in the body. It heals and repairs, it cleanses the brain, and it improves our plasticity for learning in that capacity. It improves our immune function, our mood. It's important for hormone function, and protecting and improving sleep stages is our key to longevity. And it's imperative for weight management because of our hunger hormones. So what causes poor sleep? Lack of movement, alcohol. I could actually do an hour talk on alcohol and all the things it does. I like a glass of wine as much as anybody, but what ends up happening is a lot of times people have a glass of wine just to kind of like relax at the end of the day. And maybe it actually even helps you fall asleep, but it often interrupts the sleep, and it totally interrupts hormones, and it causes wakiness, and it also causes carb cravings the next day because alcohol has a way of deregulating our hunger hormones. So it's one of those things that if you're finding you're waking up in the middle of the night or craving carbs, and you do drink alcohol, even if it's a little bit, but it's on the regular, I would say remove it for a week or two and see how you feel. It often solves for many, many problems. Screens at bedtime procrastination, we just went over that. Eating too late, if you can, sometimes it's not possible, but if you can, give yourself 2 to 3 hours prior to bed. Not eating too late massively improves sleep. It's going to improve your deep sleep, your REM sleep, your heart rate. So that's one thing to really take into consideration. Stress in a busy mind. Again, things like exercise help and improve that. Having a notepad next to your bed. And inconsistency. If there's a way to be consistent with your sleep schedules and waking schedules over time, this makes sleep so much better. And our room conditions, the temperature, the light, the sound. Sometimes we aren't aware that maybe our room's brighter than it should be or warmer. If you can adjust those things, a lot of times it has a massive impact. Hydration. Often we mistake thirst for hunger. So why do we need to drink more water? It aids in weight management because of mistaking hunger for thirst. It alleviates joint pain. Most headaches are actually because of dehydration. So if you have a headache, drink a lot of water and see if that helps. It improves skin and complexion. There's less brain fog, more clarity, and it improves digestion. So how do we get more water in? Well, starting our day with a glass of water is often an easy thing to do. I mentioned in routines. Replace another drink you have with water. So if you're somebody that like drinks Diet Coke in the morning and then another one in the afternoon, maybe you swap out one, or if you're not ready to do that, have a glass of water there with you so that you can take a sip alternately. Take water with you everywhere. I have a water bottle. I take it in the car. I take it everywhere, and you can just drink on the go. Have one with your meal. If you like some flavor, putting lemon or fresh fruit in to infuse it is always a great idea. And try and stop an hour or two before bed so you're not waking up all night. Okay, mindset. This is probably, when it comes to making overall lifestyle changes, my absolute favorite topic to talk about. There is no voice more influential than the one that's in your own head. So create a voice that motivates you. Now, this is a concept I came up with for my clients. I know that this visual looks rather elementary, but it's a basic concept that solves for a lot of problems. And it's about getting rid of the all or nothing mindset so you can stay on track with your health goals and turn all or nothing into all or something. Often people, when they get going with making lifestyle changes that I have worked with, have an all or nothing mindset. And there's three different ways to look at this. There's somebody that's in a fast lane and they are in it. They have their nutrition dialed in, they're trying to work out, they're trying to sleep well, they're trying to get their routines on track, and they are all in. And that's somebody that's in a fast lane. The middle lane looks like somebody that's very committed to making changes with their lifestyle, but they're not as intense as the person in the fast lane, but they're very much committed to the process and putting their best foot forward. A person in a slow lane is somebody that's also equally committed, but they're really focused on taking it slow and just implementing in some good habits when they can, but more importantly, trying to manage bad habits and not allow those to sneak back in. So here's the thing. People in the fast lane often have this mindset, and even in the middle lane or slow lane, that if one thing goes off track, they totally turn around and go in the wrong direction. So let's look at this guy that is eating really well and he's exercising and his routines are on and he's sleeping really well and everything's great. And he sprains his ankle. So he can't go to the gym anymore and his sleep might be a little wonky. Generally speaking, that guy, all or nothing, is going to say, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. It's fine. I'm just going to go back to my old habits. They snuck back in and I'm going to head completely in the wrong direction, my health goals. And I'll deal with this when my ankle's better. When in actuality, all that person has to do is shift over into the slow lane, take it easy, and just manage some bad habits not coming back into place. Another example, person in the middle lane, they're doing really well. They have company come stay with them for a week from out of town. So it throws their routines off. Well, that doesn't mean start heading in the wrong direction and throwing the towel on everything you've been doing well. It just means shift into the slow lane, have a good time, enjoy yourself, just manage some bad habits that don't come into place. And what happens is, let's say you're on a car trip, right? You're on a road trip and you really want to get there. You're in the fast lane. You can't stay in the fast lane the whole time. There's going to be a detour, road closure, something. You've got to shift lanes. You don't just turn around and go home. And it's the same thing with your health and wellness, because like on a trip, if you start heading in the wrong direction and you end up 3 states away, it's going to take you longer to get there. So just turn it around, right? So with all this said, you guys as teaching, sometimes it's helpful to look at this in the cycles of your season, right? So you might look at September because you're busy, you're getting back at it, kids are back in school. You might want to be in a slow lane at this point. It might be a good opportunity to just manage bad habits, right? You're making good choices, doing the best you can, stay in the slow lane. You get everybody underway, you get into October, maybe shift over into the middle lane, add something into your lifestyle, upgrade your nutrition, whatever it is. Then you're in the middle lane. And or maybe you have a week or two to be in the fast lane. You can move lanes meal to meal, day to day, week to week. It's all based on your environment. So if you then go through the holidays and are in your slow lane, I have a lot of clients that their whole goal from Thanksgiving to the first of the year is just making sure they don't overdo it. That's it. They're just trying to moderate things and are very successful at it and stay on track. And then you go into the first of the year. After the first year, maybe you have some opportunity for the middle lane, vacillating back and forth into the slow lane when things get crazy in the spring. And then if you do have your summers off, this might be a great opportunity to kind of step into the fast lane a little bit and really get some good habits in that are good for your goals, whatever works for you and your family's schedule. Now, what does it mean to get off the expressway? So when you go and get off, that looks like, for people that I'm dealing with that are working on weight loss, they may want to just go into maintenance for a little while. People go on vacations. So you're getting off the highway. You're not necessarily turning around and going in the wrong direction. You're just getting off and kind of holding at that place for a moment. So you're on vacation. I look at that as kind of an 80-20 rule, right? And if you look at your meals, do 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. And if you look at doing a good job 80% of the time, 20% leaves you with 4 or 5 meals snack that you can have some fun with, right? And indulge a little bit. And that is a really good way to try and work through a vacation. But if you're like me, every once in a while you go on vacation with great intentions and you're doing well Monday, the first 3 or 4 days, and wheels come off the bus for the last 3 or 4 days. It happens. It happens to all of us. And now we're heading in the wrong direction. It's okay. No one ever ruined a lifestyle plan, a weight loss plan, or anything from a vacation. What ruined it was when they got home and were still acting like they were on vacation for weeks and weeks and months on end. So the key here is consistency, right? We always hear for a healthy health plan, weight loss plan, anything like that, key is consistency, but yet consistency can be really difficult. And the reason for that is consistency consists of 2 things, resilience and resistance. So when you go on vacation, or even have a weekend where you go rogue, I don't care if you've been living a healthy lifestyle for 6 months, if it's been half your life like me, or it's been 2 weeks. All 3 personality types, experiences are going to have the same thing happen. It's hard. You go rogue for more than 2 days, you're going to have it. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you've been doing it for a long time. It's going to be tough to get back at it. You need to be resilient and turn it around and start heading in the right direction. And you need to understand that you're going to be resistant to it. Whether or not you start driving in the wrong direction and you're 3 states away, or you do it right when you immediately realize you need to turn it around, it's still going to be a resistance to turning around. So be resilient, get back on track, and understand that resistance is short-lived. Get back at it and just continue moving in the right direction for your goals. So my goal with the basics and what I do is all based on knowledge is not just power, but it's the key to your success. I see a lot of people that struggle with self-sabotage and not understanding why they're doing things. And the more we understand different strategies and how we operate, we can remove the self-blame and overwhelm and start moving in the right direction to start implementing some healthier pieces into our lifestyle. So thank you for your time, you guys. My program is called The Basics. If you want to know more, it's thebasics.com. I've incorporated a coupon plan here for 10% off. If anybody wants to join one of the programs, you can follow me on Instagram. If you have any questions, any thoughts, anything, feel free to message me on Instagram or email me at any time.
Well, thank you so much, Debbie. Wow, there is so much great information in what we just heard. Let's show some reactions, some responses. If you want to grab an emoji, if you want to give it a little applause, that's awesome. So much great stuff there. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your time with us today. I don't know about all of you, but health and wellness has not always been easy for me. And when I was working in a classroom full time, I don't work in a classroom full time now, but I teach in a different way. It's not always easy. And so I really love what Debbie had to say about making simple changes. And it doesn't always have to be that you're in the fast lane, that you can switch lanes as needed, but finding workable solutions. So what we'd love to do now is invite you to share in the chat window a couple of things, something that you liked or learned from Debbie's talk. So I invite you to put that in the chat window first. And then if you have a question that you'd like to ask Debbie, you can either put that in the chat window or you can simply raise your hand using the reactions button on your Zoom toolbar. And then we'll invite you to unmute and be able to share with Debbie. And we will also make sure that you get the information that she shared as part of our follow-up email. We'll share out some resources and links from all of our speakers to everyone, as well as once we have the recordings available, we'll make those available to you as well.
So I want to just pipe in here really quick. I'm looking at the chat. It looks like a handful of people made a comment about not having time to eat because they're doing lunch duty. I don't know if there's opportunity throughout the rest of the day or an opportunity for you to be able to even make a smoothie and take it and have something to drink so you do have some nutrition. Or something at some point, if there's a way to eat throughout the day, having a handful of nuts and some sort of protein, but finding little ways. And you guys, I'll say this, I'm the biggest fan, and Gary knows me. experiment. There's no right or wrong way, but if you can have something where you have a handful of nuts in your pocket and a little bit of protein over here, a protein drink, that might be just enough to sustain you through that moment in time. Does anybody else have any questions?
That's a great suggestion. Debbie, real quick. So you mentioned like a handful of nuts. So in many of our schools, there are nut allergies, some of them airborne. And so there's a bit of restriction sometimes because of that in what we could have when we're around children. Do you have a quick alternative that might be a nut-free but easy, kind of handheld sort of thing that's equivalent?
Well, that's no, because nuts are kind of like their own little like easy like one-off thing, but I totally forgot that the nut allergy is a thing in the schools. Well, this is why I really like wraps, and I have a lot of nurses that are in the same position where they'll actually make a wrap, put it in foil, and have it in their pocket and just take bites between rounds, and it's a really easy thing. And I know it may not seem workable, but I would ask you maybe try and make one, put it in some sort of wrapping where you can take a bite here and there and see if it works. Again, like I said, depending on what your responsibilities are in these situations, there's going to be some experimentation that's going to need to happen.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah,
Great
sunflower
suggestion.
seeds. Somebody said sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. Sure. Those are good. Not sometimes not as high in protein, but definitely a good alternative for the nut allergy people. Perfect. Anybody else have any questions? Need some strategies for tricky situations.
Or perhaps you have a success story that you'd like to share that resonated with you as you heard something that Debbie was sharing today. You can even feel free if you want to just unmute and go right ahead to engage in the conversation. All right. Okay, so a couple of things coming in. If you're seeing the chat there, Debbie, you might respond to either of those.
Hard-boiled eggs, good. Strategies for losing weight in my stomach. So weight loss is not, you can't target weight loss, right? As is, you can't, when we're working out, we can't really target a specific spot. And oftentimes with weight loss, getting a plan and really focusing on combining those foods, as I mentioned earlier, helps take down inflammation and the overall body inflaming. Sometimes we hold inflammation in different places. That's one thing. And that, that's probably the easiest thing to do is take down the inflammation in the body by eating whole, clean foods.
Let's see here. Looking through, Greek yogurt has been a go-to protein snack. That's a great suggestion. Definitely very easy. I don't know if this makes me think of something that I've seen children do because I have an 8-year-old daughter. They have like the Greek yogurt in like little tubes that you could like, you don't even have to have a spoon. You can just kind of squeeze it and go. So I don't know if that's something anybody's ever tried. Sometimes they have a lot more sugar than maybe the
Yeah.
regular yogurt would, but if they have a plain version, perhaps there's an idea there. Here's a great question for you that just came in. Tiffany, would you like to elaborate a little bit and ask your question? We'll put you on with Debbie.
Okay, sorry, I feel like I keep being this person. I'm sorry.
Love it.
So how about any suggestions on like finding time to learn more about nutrition? Because it's something that's a goal of mine, but as you heard before, I don't really have any time. I love the meal prep ideas. So I like jotted down those ideas that you had for like just having cucumbers or peppers or grilled chicken in the fridge. That's fantastic because there's a lot of drive through and I don't buy it, but my kids do. And it's what you're saying, the not eating but not fasting thing is totally where I'm at and living off of caffeine, coffee. So I'm 100% right there. And it would be great to know like the macros, just suggestions on how I could learn more about that and how much of that I have throughout the day.
Okay, so this is exactly why I made my program, was because people get busy and overwhelmed. And when I caught you talking before, and I was listening, you've got a crazy schedule, and I totally get that. I have a list that I give to people that is a Costco list. It's different things you can get at Costco for you, somebody like you that has it's really busy all the time. From a nutrition standpoint, my program, I give people kind of a baseline to look at what they should be eating and when, so it gets them to their goals. But in general, if you're just right now trying to make some simple, healthy choices, putting together a plate that has moderate amount of carbs, a large amount of protein, and a couple healthy fats is a great way to start. And for the fast stuff, Costco has things like chicken skewers, shrimp, really good and good quality proteins that are already there. Getting a rotisserie chicken every week and just being able to shred it and throw it in a wrap with like guacamole or an avocado mash, when you're running home with your kids because they've had sports or something, and you grab them a pizza and you run home and you've got chicken and everything to throw in that. It's a great way, super nutritious. And then you're not eating the pizza and you're not starving yourself. There's a lot of little tricks and hacks that you can get things in your world without having to spend copious amounts of time putting it together. Because honestly, as much as I'd love to, I don't have that kind of time either. So there's that balance of being able to, not have the time and then get the healthy foods in the right quantity so you can get to your goals.
Is that like available on that website that you had posted, or is
All
that
my information about what I do is all on the website. It's posted. But yeah, I highly recommend, take a look at it. You are, welcome to, email me with any questions you might have about anything. But I think in general, for people in doing an overall, just a really simple, like right now, what can I do right now when I get off this call and put my lunch together? Try to limit try and balance out the plate a little bit. Make sure you're getting protein in. We need protein. It is for every function in our body. And especially if we're looking at weight loss, when we take in protein, it insulates our muscle. So we're losing body fat and we're not losing muscle as we're losing the weight. We don't want that. We want to maintain, especially as we age, as much muscle as we can keep on our body. So, and I know the nutrition space is incredibly overwhelming and conflicting, and there's so many things, and there's restricting this and add this, and it gets a little nutty. So I've tried to simplify all of that as much as possible.
All right. Thank you so much for those responses, Debbie. Thanks for great questions. Tiffany. Well, we've got time for one more question in the big group. If you are interested to unmute and ask Debbie a question directly. Otherwise, our next step coming up will be our small group discussions to kind of process everything we've heard in this learning block. And I did
I've got a quick question. Can you speak really quickly to the benefits to our emotional health when we focus on nutrition and physical wellness? Can you connect those for teachers?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're eating well and you're keeping your blood sugar stable, it is going to massively impact how your brain works. That's 100%. So the overall feeling better, when we move, when we sleep, and when we eat well, those are the key to metabolic function. And if our metabolisms and we're metabolically working correctly, our overall sense of peace and joy is there. The problem is trying to put these pieces all together and not creating more overwhelm and stress in the process of doing it, which is ultimately my goal. But absolutely, if we're taking care of ourselves and we're eating healthy, it's not just that sense of feeling great about taking care of ourselves, but that nutrition is what our body needs in order to function well. People are starving, literally starving, and it has nothing to do with weight. It has to do with nutrients that their bodies need. So I cannot speak highly enough about the connection to anxiety, depression. I've had so many clients that, a lot of people come to me for weight loss, right? But when they leave, they're, oh my gosh, I feel so amazing. Oh yeah, and I lost some weight, right? So that to me is the greatest thing I can hear. When someone feels, when you feel good, when you feel rested and calm and peaceful and tolerant and just at peace. Granted, we go off the rails a little bit here and there, but in general, there's nothing better. Nothing.
Thank you. I feel like we all know teaching is such an emotional labor.
It is.
And instead of us commiserating always with a big thing of ice cream or or with more negativity, commiserating with others, I'm just hopeful that today a lot of the teachers get the idea that you can really treat that kind of emotional unwellness with a walk, or at least that recognition. The more I take care of myself, the better I'll be able to handle the emotional needs of my students and myself.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you brought that connection point up, because it really is what happens. And there is a lot of, especially with the sugar and things like that, because it is a dopamine rush. It makes us feel good at first. It's not just, we think it's going to make us feel good. It actually chemically does. And therefore it's addictive, but it's a false reality, right? Because it's actually maybe going against our goals. And there's this this pull of just wanting to relax and feel better, when we can make other choices that actually have a much better impact. And it's just learning those things in the connection. So absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for another great question, Allie. We appreciate that. Debbie, thanks for great responses as well. Well, we are going to move next into our breakout rooms for a small group discussion to process all of this. But first, we want to thank Debbie Rupp for a great talk in this learning block, all about wellness and health and nutrition. So we appreciate you, Debbie, sharing your knowledge and your time and wisdom with us. We'll make sure to share out those resources again. So as we head into our next conversation, we'll be coming back together here in about 10 minutes to then go into our lunch and learn. As always, enjoy the conversation with your group. You will possibly have some new people in your room, so make sure you take a moment to introduce yourselves, and then we'll see you back here in 10 minutes.